He's a three-time convicted sex offender who served his time but appears to be back to his old ways.
The Monroe man is accused of targeting children, and so far, police can't stop him. Fox 2's Taryn Asher investigates why this man continues to slip through the cracks of the law. Taryn?
You know, it's very, very disturbing. Christopher Parker has a file about this thick, filled with violent crimes and sexual offenses involving young people. Parker served his time, but hasn't seemed to change his ways. We're told police are doing all they can, but because of how the law stands, it's not enough.
I've been to a rehab center. I've been rehabilitated.
But has he? He's that guy. Maybe you have one in your neighborhood.
Pretty much just a friendly guy.
The guy who always seems to have kids in his yard, but doesn't have any kids of his own. The man in this video carrying pellet guns is Christopher Parker. The man with no kids of his own, but seems awfully familiar with this young boy. How familiar? We'll come back to that.
Frequently, we saw him outside with younger kids, playing on a trampoline, playing on swing sets.
Unsuspecting children, innocent, trusting, who do not know they are playing with a 22-year-old convicted sexual predator, and there is nothing police can do to stop him. Parker's troubled past begins when he's just 11, charged with molesting 6- and 7-year-old sisters. He gets 1 year probation. When Parker turns 16, he's convicted of having sex with a young male relative, locked up in Crawford County's Camp Shawano. He spends 5 years in the camp, a facility known for rehabilitation. But while he's there, Parker is accused of molesting a 15-year-old boy. He even admits to drawing this vulgar picture of himself having sex with his victim. His crimes are pled down, and he spends less than a year in jail. Just days after he's released in December of 2009, Parker is back in Monroe County and heads to the one place sure to welcome him with open arms. Parker joins the Cornerstone Church in Monroe County, telling his fellow members he's a pastor.
He lied frequently. It was very obvious because his stories didn't make sense.
Another red flag? According to Pastor Tim Iconangeli, Parker's attentions are very specific.
I noticed him trying to find himself in situations by himself with kids. You could just tell he was trying to build relationships with them.
Church member James Breeding becomes worried after Parker seems to take a liking to his 3 boys.
He says, well, I never eat candy, but I always have it. So if you ever want anything, you make sure you look for me.
According to the police report, Parker tries to befriend Breeding's sons, even following one into the church bathroom. When Breeding confronts him, Parker flashes 3 knives clipped to his belt.
This guy he's been finding this little line, and he's been following it for so long that he's flaunting what he knows that he can and that he can't do.
Detectives question Parker about carrying concealed weapons in church. Parker claims he carries knives because he likes to whittle wood. As for his creepy behavior, Parker admits to being a convicted sex offender, but tells the police he used to be like that he used to have a fetish for young boys, but has since changed his ways.
There was no prosecution on him.
Why not?
Well, there was nothing he did in violation of the sex offender registry. Anything that he did do involving any of the children was not illegal.
With no criminal charges, all police can do is ban him from the church property.
I would be very concerned, and that's why we are watching him and keeping our eyes open to make sure that something doesn't happen.
But Parker doesn't give up. Police say he starts targeting children at 2 other churches. First, the Monroe Church of Nazarene, and then the Church of God. He's kicked out of both churches for the same menacing behavior with children, mainly young boys. In June, Parker is spotted at the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life on the state fairgrounds, posing as someone else.
Would make his way around to different campgrounds, introduce himself as a survivor.
But the next day, Relay volunteer Stephen Bryant says Parker changes his story again and tells everyone he's on the event committee and claims he was making a headquarters in the grandstand bathroom.
I just assumed that he was here as a good deed person.
Officials have no idea who Parker is and kick him out, but somehow he manages to find his way back to the bathroom. The next morning, volunteers say he's discovered inside with a teenage boy, but witnesses aren't in time to see anything.
He's obviously out there preying on people. He needs to come off the street. He's going to hurt somebody.
Parker is forever banned from the fairgrounds, but on the first day of the Monroe County Fair, he's back. Authorities say complaints surfaced that a man, possibly Parker, exposed himself to children in the bathroom. He's kicked out again, and police post Parker's picture with a warning. Sure enough, a couple days later, someone spots Parker, and he's arrested on the spot for trespassing. But that's all police can do. Parker is released that same night.
A lot of parents, a lot of people feel that you have been targeting children, and we wanted to know what you thought about that. Have you had anything to say about that?
Well, for one, I think it's a ridiculous allegation. You know, I had a problem relationship as a teenager when I was 16 with a 15-year-old and ended up on the sex offender registry.
We confront Parker about the series of allegations against him, and he denies it all, even his past convictions clearly on record. Instead, he claims he is the victim, misunderstood for his actions.
For all those people who are worried that you're going after their children, what do you have to say to them?
I tell them that if they got a problem with me, come talk to me. If they got a problem with their kids being out in public, then keep them out of the public. I ain't going after nobody's kids.
Or is he? Take a look at the video we first showed you. In his own front yard, while the mother of the young boy has her back turned, Parker picks up the child and is seen plainly squeezing the boy's backside. The problem is Parker is off probation and off parole, which means it is not illegal for him to be around children.
The law works in a way in which it protects Chris. It doesn't protect my kid.
Despite dozens of complaints into the Michigan Sex Offender Registry and 2 cases police have had against Parker, the Monroe County prosecutor says there's just simply not enough evidence to charge him.
Although he's been described as a dangerous super predator with a demonstrated history of insatiable behavior, the hands of investigators are tied. They can't arrest Parker unless a victim comes forward or he's caught in the act.
Until the legislators change the law, yeah, we're trapped. We have to abide and go by what the rules are, just like everybody else.
But it may be too late by then.
That's correct.
Church member James Breeding says his boy hasn't been the same since Parker followed him into the bathroom. He has him in therapy, hoping to learn if his son is also a victim, which police now suspect.
The law should not let somebody like this continue to hurt children. He's hurting children. He's hurt mine. Where's my kids' rights?
Investigators believe there could be other victims out there. Police say a parent's best defense is the sex offender registry. Like in the case with Christopher Parker, they can use it to gain knowledge about sexual predators in their area. They can also send tips through the website to report suspicious behavior. Now, coming up in about 10 minutes, our panel takes a closer look at the rights of some sex offenders and the flaws with the law.
Well, Taryn, as a parent watching that undercover video, I am so outraged and so disgusted that they can't do more to get this guy locked up.
And I'm sure you are, and I'm sure there are a lot of parents watching that are as well, and that seems to be the problem, that the law is not, it seems to maybe protect more the sex offenders rather than some of these people, some of these victims or potential victims that are out there. We're going to take a closer look at that coming up.
And once again, to underscore this situation, they can't do anything unless somebody does become a victim, or if there was a victim in the past coming forward. However, somebody like this can walk the streets, can do something to make people feel uncomfortable, can be a known con person, and still walk the streets until somebody gets hurt.
Well, in some cases, yes. If they're not on parole and they're not on probation, then they can be around children, and that just makes them more, these children, or these, you know, these victims more vulnerable in these kind of situations.
All right, well, we'll see you again in about 10 minutes. Thanks, Taryn.
Very